All right, everyone, we are here to get down to it.
All right, let's start with some reviews. Light Hero Kaiser. Most interesting, great chapter mate. Can't wait for more. Kaito. That deadwood is annoying. He should jump into the sea. Light. You know he'll float, right? Kaito. What do you mean? Of course I know. No, that. Oh, wait. Don't. Light. Because he is deadwood. And wood always float. Kaito. You know that was bad, right?
I
anyway,
approve.
Tell them your theory. Light. Yes, I did know that was a bad joke. Anyway, my theory is, yes, Kai is going to die next chapter, but his power won't. Instead, it will become a part of One for All, and Deku will learn how to use it in the honor of Kai. Blade Hero Light and Bow Hero Impact signing out.
That's not a bad theory, honestly.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna respond. That might be one of the
Well, we'll get to we'll have to circle back around to that one.
That being
once
said,
the chapter's
I
over.
hope that was a Monty Python reference because
If a witch floats, what else floats?
more witches. All right, sorry. Thank you, Light Hero Kaiser.
Thank you.
All right, Depressed Crow 2554
2544.
My bad. Damn, I thought this was the end of the second movie. If you ain't the official king of cliffhangers, you damn sure gotta be in the running.
Yes!
Brats.
I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but I'm going to take it as one.
All right, thank you, Depressed Crow 2544.
I like that handle.
That's amazing. All right, Chaos.
I'm guessing they're a fan of Edgar Allan Poe at some point or another.
I don't know. They have a Sonic the Hedgehog meme as their profile picture. So
I don't know.
all right, Chaos. Sorry. I already said thank you. Chaos Control 85. Didn't expect that shakeup in the teams to happen.
Well, yeah, I didn't want it to be the same as in the movie.
Why wasn't Katsuma continuing to heal Kai even as a suggestion from someone else like Tentacle or Tailman, especially when they knew that what Kai was likely to do? It definitely could have brought him a few precious seconds of otherwise unimpeded pain.
I mean, like, we don't get a whole lot of context as to what happens when Katsuma overuses his quirk, but, like, he looked like he was really tired after he finished healing Deku and Bakugo in the movie. And, you know, he wasn't like, he there were still plenty of injuries among the heroes, like, even from the people that were standing by him. I mean, like, in the movie, like, why wasn't he trying to continue to heal Tailman or try and help Creaty, you know, use her power more effectively? I assume it was because he was already really tired, and for him to continue to use his quirk would kind of be something of a last resort.
Yeah, I was gonna say he is just a kid.
He's like 5 or 6 maybe.
I think at this point, like, he did what he could, and I'm sure the doctors around are probably saying, "Don't overuse your quirk. You don't want to get yourself sick because you need to be able to run if you need to get away."
Yep.
And also, it's like, you know, Kai was not supposed to get in on this fight, and they were trying. You know, it's like
They
got
were
him
all trying
stable.
to make that not happen.
Yeah, I mean, they got him stable, and that was all they needed. And really, all the energy needed to go into Deku and Bakugo, just like in the movie. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I think I kind of agree with you there. That, I mean, he is just a kid, and his quirk can only do so much. So yeah, and and if he could just use it nonstop, it would just kind of, I don't know.
It would be a game breaker.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Ha! Now Switch has a butterface thanks to Ashen Queen. Ooh,
Wow.
Ouch. All right. Haha. Kai did pull an ineffective Vegeta.
Going out like one of his idols.
Kai still has yet to die. Again.
He'll die this time, I promise.
And another cliffhanger. Woo.
Oh, come on, stop complaining. You guys know what I'm about.
By the way, when Ingenium and Red Riot are keeping clear of Tsukuyomi to avoid being in the crossfire by accident and not on accident. Also, Froppy's shortened first name is Sue, not Sue, but with a TSU, not with an SU. But both for future reference, lol.
Okay, so the reason I write it is just SU for the, I don't know if you noticed, I only do that when someone's speaking to her, just calling her Sue, because if I'm writing about her, I call her by Suyu or Asui. The reason I just do the SU in when someone's speaking it is because, you know, that's how it would sound. They're not going out of their way to pronounce the T. So I just didn't see the point in adding the extra T there. And I guess the first bit is I guess I must have messed up the words, the word order on something. But no, good thing to point out. But I hope that clears that up for you.
All right, thank you. All right, so Kai dies from quirk overload. I mean, having 10 quirks to deal with is in a vessel barely able to accommodate 3 is pretty harsh and otherwise anticlimactic. And not by a villain. Meh.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just the quirk. I mean, he's already got one foot in the grave. He's going to die no matter what he does at this point. So, like, yeah, One for All with Energon would probably kill him pretty quickly, but he's already gonna die. Like the damage that the villains have done to him up to this point is what's killing him, not the 2 powerhouse quirks.
Gotcha.
Like that's not gonna help him, but you know it's literally do or die at this point.
So still gonna continue to read regardless. So keep them coming.
Well, I'm glad you'll keep coming back, man. I hope you like what I do with the next part of the story.
All right, thank you, Chaos Control 85.
Thank you for your review.
All right, next. Ooh, my goodness.
Silver 4700 wrote us a novella, so I'm going to take this one. Are you going to take this one?
Okay, go for it.
Yep.
I'm going to blow my nose.
Okay. Alrighty, so Silver 4700 starts. No. An extra long chapter and he's still alive? I don't care how close he is to the brink of death, he needs to die! Man, impatient much. Sorry, anyways, on to the review. First off, I like how you started this. I don't remember a whole lot about the actual final operation of the movie, so this will be, all in all, a fresh look at the encounter. Alright. Firstly, Slice. I liked her encounter. I don't remember exactly how it went in the movie, but it was well done here. Quick refresher, it was Mina and Tokoyami who took her out in the movie. Let's see. They've been planning this down to the minute... She would have been at a major disadvantage if the heroes didn't yell out their attacks. She wouldn't have dodged out of the way. They've been planning this down to the minute detail, and they shout their moves before landing them, alerting the villain. That's almost as stupid as not deleting your friend's list after you tried to fake your death. Still, love the heroes and their battle with Slice. Although, I don't care what kind of quirk you have or what kind of experience, Slice's spine is broken and she's dead. Well, I've got 2 counterpoints for that paragraph. First of all, in the movie, they did... the finishing move was pretty much the same, and somehow she was, like, up and walking. So the theory is that, like, humans in general have evolved at this point to be tougher because of the superhuman society they live in.
Also,
which is why
anime.
she's not dead. Yeah, also, anime. And the other thing is that... So a lot of people make fun of anime characters for yelling out the name of their attacks and taking forever to do it. I will make fun of them for taking forever to charge up their attacks, but I don't necessarily make fun of them for yelling them out because there is a basis for this, and it's in martial arts. Something that I've been trained to do in a lot of branches of martial arts and even basic self-defense courses. What they'll tell you to do is if someone is coming at you or you have to go at somebody, the first thing you should do is yell at them. Like, it doesn't even have to make any sense. It doesn't have to be a word. You just yell. Because when someone yells at you, your honest to goodness first reaction is going to be to flinch. Like, it's just one of those things, you can't help it. If somebody yells at you and they make a physical movement towards you, even if they don't hit you, your first instinct is to flinch. And it's very hard to overcome that instinct. That's one of the reasons that I've trained for so long as I have, and other people who take their martial arts very seriously, they train to overcome this initial gut instinct because, other people are going to try to do that to us. In anime, as all things are, this is exaggerated. So they yell the name of their attacks, but the basis for why this is such a cultural thing for them, just almost localized to anime itself, it stems from this training method in martial arts.
That's interesting.
I had never told you about that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why when we hit certain points in our kata, we let out a yell. Because that's supposed to be a definitive start or a definitive finish.
At least you don't pause for a solid 10 seconds and explain what you're about to do.
Exactly. Like I will make fun of them taking forever to charge up their attack and then yelling it, or like yelling it out while they're charging that attack. What I would do is charge up the attack as quietly as I can and then yell it out like as it's coming, because then that scares the pajamas out of them.
The way I look at it is it's just a narrative tool to help the viewer understand what's happening.
Okay.
As goofy as it is. That's what I would simplify it to. I never would have thought of that.
Yeah. That's what I know from the culture. But yeah, so I hope that clears that up. Let's see. Also, it was interesting how you overall had different heroes go to different villains, most notably changing Shoto with Ruby. Really liked his initial special fire ice attack. Most of the time, I kind of gloss over attacks in their descriptions. Sound like someone I know?
That's me.
But this was an interesting one to read for some reason. Maybe because it felt more personal to Todoroki than I have to stop this villain because I'm a hero. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I tried to make this a little more personal for them than, you know, we have to stop them because they're the bad guys and we're the good guys. I wanted to give them a more personal stake in it because, you know, they're trying to save Kodai from himself almost as much as they're trying to keep the villains from getting to them. Let's see. 9 felt like Luke in The Last Jedi wiping the dust off his shoulder in the aftermath of the attack. You know what? I don't care what anybody says. I like that scene a lot. I liked Luke's final battle. I'll fight anybody who says otherwise.
I was screaming in the theater, and I
love that how he just walks up and just brushes off his shoulder. I'm just like, you couldn't throw a bigger finger if you tried.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
I have to say that those movies have many, many downfalls, but that is not one of them to me.
Yep.
Anyway.
I thoroughly enjoyed that scene.
So I'm not sure how Silver feels about that, but
I'm sure I'll get an earful about it in the Discord this week.
All right.
Let's see. All right. 9. Playtime is over. Silver, really? That's the best you got? Who are you and how did you get on this island? Why not say something like time's up or enough or even just silence? Being silent is a really good way to be intimidating. Then why don't you go and talk to Switch? She's better at saying cool stuff, I guess. Get off my back and get out of here before I kill you. Silver. It's cute. You think you'd kill me? Wait. Where's Switch? No. No. Runs all the way across the island to see where Switch was fighting Ashido and the others. Arrives just in time to see her eyes melted. Oh, come on! Do you have any idea how hard it is to come up with good villains these days? Screw you, Mina. Mina, you have 5 seconds to get out of here before you join the Switch. Silver. It's okay. It's all right. You're going to fall into despair anyways. So suck it. Poofs out of existence. Anyways, where was I? Wow, someone's salty. I think you're the only one who liked her that much, man. That I frankly I don't know what that says about you, but we'll
Oh, rude.
Oh man. He's picking on Mina and what's like gonna be like the hardest part of her life here.
She's a fictional character, my love.
Well, so is Switch, and this dude's been so salty in the Discord.
All right, continue.
You wouldn't believe the amount of shade this guy's been throwing at me.
I believe it.
Let's see. All right. Oh yes, one of the best characters in this story. I both really liked Switch's fight with Mina and the others, but I also feel somewhat disappointed. Don't get me wrong, their plan to feint Switch was really clever, and I loved reading it, but it felt, I don't know, Switch's encounter with them seemed really short. At least the character got a lot of good screen time in last chapter, but to me, it felt a bit too short. It's just a personal thing. I mean, yeah, I couldn't make every villain encounter as long as the one with 9.
Are you saying you want to wait longer before he dies?
Ooh, yes, good point. I could go, but I mean, I could just put a pause on this chapter, and then I can make you
that out a little
flesh
bit.
that out a little bit more. Come back, and that's what I'll do. I'll go back and I'll redo the last video. Just make these guys wait another 2 weeks.
Oh no.
I'm not that mean. Let's see. Also, in case you can't tell, kind of hate how Mina took Switch out of commission. It was well written, and people were probably cheering for that, and it was justice, and it was coming to the villain, but Mina can go die. Oh, wait, that's Kodai's job! See? See what I mean?
Yep, just continue.
Next, Chimera. Again, really liked his fight with Team Ruby. It was good, and I was honestly more entertained here than by his actual fight in the movie. It was also a really good callback. Well, thank you. It was also a really good callback to the OG Ruby, so that was fun. But also, what do quirk laws say about murdering villains? And even putting aside the legal aspect, what about the moral aspect? Will Ruby feel any kind of emotion, remorse, or otherwise following this? Chimera goes out with a bang, but we hardly, if ever, see heroes in My Hero Academia murder villains. So I don't know if you plan to go anywhere with that, but just throwing this out there. Come back to me on that one. It is legal. It does happen. As far as like it does happen, and the hero like will fall under like pretty close scrutiny because of it. But like, unless there's like sufficient proof that they went out with a vendetta to like murder this villain, like
if the evidence go down to like whether it's self-defense or not.
Yeah, I mean,
whether it's defending others.
Yeah, putting it this way, it's like these are kids who shouldn't be anywhere near a villain fight on their own. Like, they have to do whatever they have to do to survive.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know how the law works exactly in this situation, because it's like all we know is, you know, where we live, depending on the state you're in and whether you are doing it in self-defense, like, you know, that police can fall under, you know, of course they're going to be taken off duty and, you know, put through psych evals until like, you know, make sure trials go through, and
there will be repercussions. There's going to be repercussions for this. Certainly mental ones. I'll leave you to wonder how far the law ones.
What? The law ones? What are you saying?
I don't know. I've been talking for a while already, so I'm a little mixed up.
Well, no, yeah, like I said, I'd be curious to know how exactly the law works in this situation, in this world. You know, what does the Hero Safety Commission have a part to play here? Are there, you know, other counterbalances that keep heroes accountable? I'm curious about that, and I think that's part of why, you know, what is that movement?
The Meta
Liberation Front has so much traction, because they bring up a lot of these points, like who is keeping these heroes accountable? Are they really?
And are the people that are saying that they're keeping them accountable can we actually trust them?
Exactly. I mean, it really echoes real life here, honestly. But yeah, I think
that's
what
I
really
like about My
question
Hero
there.
Academia is that a lot of the important underlying themes echo real world issues.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna give any spoilers, but like watching, we just got caught up on the current season yesterday, and I was sobbing because honestly there were parts that really mirrored current events, and it was honestly like I wasn't even crying about the story. It just like really hit home because I'd been kind of trying not to think about stuff. So anyway, that's, you know, but I think that's the beauty of storytelling, is you can take something that's real and weave it into, you know, this fantasy world too, but it still has substance and it still makes you feel those big emotions. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, that was a really good point, dude. Continue.
Boy, we're like only halfway through this.
Oh man, that's a long review.
Let's see. Lastly, 9. The movie also made it feel like this, but their overall fight with 9 felt a lot like either a Kingdom Hearts fight or even a Final Fantasy boss with multiple phases of the fight. Yeah, I remember some of those final bosses in Kingdom Hearts.
I watched him struggle.
Overall, it was really cool. Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts bosses are fun. While Kodai's last big attack was pretty cool, and even him having unlocking the so-called 8th Gate of Death, at least I think that's what you were referencing. Quick pause. I wasn't. But I can definitely see how it would be interpreted that way.
Oh yeah.
Let's see.
I could see that.
Yeah. Because the 8th Gate of Death kills the person who uses it. If Kodai had unlocked this chakra under normal circumstances, it basically would have bankrupted his energy reserves pretty quickly, but it wouldn't kill him.
I mean, both of those moves are based on the whole chakra idea, so yeah, I can see the similarities.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see.
And you've made a lot of Naruto references.
I was making Naruto references all over the place. That wasn't supposed to be one of them. Let's see. This was quite an awesome attack for him. Even if, to me anyways, it's kind of pushing the boundaries of what qualifies for an output of his quirk. That might just be me, and I do give you a hard time with it, but I give this criticism because it feels that he can do whatever might unlock his next chakra, and then he does a cool new quirk. It isn't the worst thing in the world, but it still is something that feels... I don't know, but even with that said, it was still awesome to see his version of Night Guy, I assume. One could say that Kodai might die.
Okay. Please say something in your Might by Guy voice, because it's fantastic.
Okay, yeah, there's gonna be let's see.
Can you do it?
You're putting me on the spot here.
Sorry.
Let's see. All right, Hikari, you gotta let the springtime of youth well up within you for this one final act.
I feel like you got to go a little bit deeper in your chest, but that was pretty good. That's pretty good.
I'll have to do it. I'll have to do it.
You
like,
need to practice that.
No. My voice has kind of been used over the last couple days, and B, you put me on the spot, so I didn't have time to like actually like. Also, I need a line or something.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
I need a line next time.
All right.
I can get it better then.
Sorry. Continue. Sorry, I totally derailed us. Continue.
Side note: Might Die is actually his Might Guy's dad name. So Might Guy. His dad's name was Die. It's spelled D-A-I.
Wow. Wow. Gotta love shonen anime, man. All right, continue. Sorry.
Too bad his final form didn't do jack. And that brings me to the... What's that?
Shut up.
Wait, were you telling me to shut up or the review to shut up?
You.
What did I...
Oh, you were reading the review. Sorry, continue. Sorry, my bad.
That's on the review. Too bad his final form didn't do jack.
Okay, sorry.
You thought I was talking about... Are you kidding me? You know I love Might Guy.
Okay.
That guy's awesome.
Okay, sorry.
Let's see. That brings me to the last section of this chapter that you said you knew was coming and I was saving for later. Deku shares one for all with Kurai instead of Bakugo. I have mixed feelings about this. Yes, sharing one for all with Bakugo in the original canon makes a lot more sense in terms of character and the consistent relationship between Deku and Bakugo, but even disregarding that, considering this is a heavily altered alternate universe, a part of me felt that Kurai was going to go out with a bang from his last chakra and ultimate form. He would give it his all, one last attack before his death. But him getting one for all from Deku almost makes his last attack and chakra unlocking seem somewhat pointless. I mean, yeah, that was kind of the point. Like, that even with all this awesome power that he has at his disposal...
It wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough. Like, he couldn't do... He just couldn't do it. That was the point.
Y'all have been complaining that he's overpowered.
Yeah. You want to complain? You want to complain about him being overpowered now? Yeah, there was a villain he couldn't beat. That was all that grandiosity and like final desperate attempt. Like it was supposed to be pointless. Like it wasn't yeah.
Calm down.
I'm not worked up. I'm just excited.
Okay.
Let's see. So I mean, I guess I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Let's see. If his ultimate attack and last chakra didn't do anything, and the story then goes to him sharing one for all, what was the point of his last chakra? Doesn't really even exemplify Nine's power, honestly. Nine already did that pretty much. Nine's power has been continuously exemplified throughout the story. This was just kind of like the peak of that. You know, like even this rising star who just success is guaranteed for him because of his power can do nothing against this guy. Like that was supposed to be that was supposed to be like the exclamation point in the fight. Like they can't beat Nine unless something crazy drastic happens, and you know, kind of to lend the thought, it's like maybe this is the crazy drastic thing that'll happen to win. Nope. Okay. Wow. So even he's powerless against it. That was meant to be the point of that whole thing. So yeah, let's see. On the other hand, it will still be cool to see Enaika merge with One for All. It also makes sense considering that Deku and Kai have been confidants since really early in the story, seeing them grow together a lot more than Deku and Bakugo did in the initial My Hero Academia story. I wonder what's going to happen with Bakugo in this last final encounter with Nine, though. I presume you have some kind of plan for him, but we'll wait and see. Well, you won't have to wait too much longer to see what I'm going to do with that. Let's see. Overall, I suppose I wouldn't have nearly as much of an issue with Kai taking One for All if he didn't do that last attack chakra bit. It seemed like he was going to give his last legacy through that, but then it almost backpedals. That's my own thoughts, though. As you said, it's the path you chose for the story, and I greatly respect that you're sticking to it. All in all, I'm excited to see what happens next. Hopefully, Kurai might die in the next chapter, but I won't hold my breath. I'll wait until chapter 78. Hope you and Becca have a good one. Silver. He's gonna die! I've been saying it! I don't lie to you guys!
Thank you, Silver.
They don't believe... I have never lied about this story.
All right. Okay.
Thank you for your review, dude.
All right. Shima Inaga. Very fun. Kill him, kill him, kill him. Mataris, how dare you delay this inevitable moment? Get back in the splash zone. Urgh. Oh my god, he's so close to dying. Smiley face.
The splash zone thing was a reference to the Omaki that I wrote.
I see.
The other two characters are like, dude, why are you I'm like, why are you hiding over there? They're like, we're staying out of the splash zone because we know they're coming for you.
All right, thank you, Shimanaga. Shimanaga.
It's Mira.
Yeah, I know. All right, next from JBiz96. I don't want to be that guy, but I don't think that this was specifically said that he died after making the recording and was just an assumption that he would die.
No, I've mentioned this multiple times in the author's notes and the Omakis and in the podcast, you know, like I've mentioned that the story would come full circle to when he died.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing. Like, if you're not taking into account all the, like, behind the scenes stuff, if you're just reading the story, then that's a solid assumption, you know? So that's probably, I would be that person. Anyway, all right. Thank you, JBiz96.
Thank you for
all
your
right.
review.
Last Robin. Okay, a lot to unpack here.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so fights are good, but a little fast.
Those were fast.
Ready to see some death.
You guys really are bloodthirsty gremlins.
I know you like a slow burn, but this is really slow burn.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just get tired of the cliffhangers when they're always expected. I feel like at this point you're just cramming as many anime powers as you can into Kudai.
Oh my.
Kudama mode, planetary devastation.
That was awesome.
Burian mode. The man's got so many powers, I can't keep track.
He has one power.
There are so many outputs, it's kind of feeling overdone as to many ways he can output it. I'm wishing you had him go full power on some already done moves instead of shoehorning new ones. I know you're not using Baryon mode to its namesake, but if you are, there should be dead people. There's just too much happening. Honestly, it gets harder to connect to the character if he becomes a walking Deus Ex Machina. Okay, I don't know.
Okay, you know, if you want dead people, just wait for this coming chapter, okay? There's more than one dead person that happens.
Switch, cool way of dealing with her eyes. I like it. However, I feel like it was poorly executed.
Nani?
It's been established that
the Renegon teleportation technique.
Okay, Aminote Jikara.
Jikara
does not require a line of sight to be used.
Well, Switch's power does.
Even if your version did, why not swap places with Mina while she was she was talking with her eyes covered? It's pretty instantaneous, so I don't have any doubt that she could have. Too many ways Switch could have gotten out of it.
All right, I'm gonna stop you right there. Have you ever been full on slugged in the face? Like if you have, you should be able to understand why she didn't just think to use her power, because when you get hit in the head, especially if you get knocked on your butt, you're like that's not just an impact to the front of her face. She got hit and her head was like the first thing to hit the ground. So that's a double impact. You're getting a serious concussion out of that. You are not going to be thinking very clearly right after that happens.
Hopefully.
It was honestly kind of a miracle that she was able to talk to them at all. And much less being able to even think about using her power. Because she was about to use it. But when you get hit, having been hit in the head really solid is everything feels like you feel really slow and everything else sped up. Not just one or the other, it's both. Your thoughts become so slow while everything around you just kicks into a new gear because you just cannot comprehend what happened to you. So that's my justification for why she didn't just teleport out of the way. Just first-hand experience of being hit in the face. If I had the ability to teleport, I don't think I would have been able to do it for a few minutes.
All right. Honestly, if you get rid of One for All, I do not feel like it would be for the betterment of the narrative. I feel like it would be a thing done to make things different and would ruin the story, especially with so much of the story riding on its existence. Unless, of course, you mean the final holder of Energon. I don't know.
I do not mean the final holder of Energon.
Sorry if it feels like I'm ripping into you. I'm doing it because I care.
I know.
A haiku. Tori, a new one. Kudai has a lot of quirks. Outputs? Maybe not.
He has one quirk. Well, actually, no. He has two quirks now. And he has 7 outputs for an Ica and one output for One for All because he does not have time to learn all the other quirks.
Now say that in a Might Guy voice. Just kidding. All right,
Why are you doing this to me?
Sorry, I heard a little bit of it in your voice at first when you said that. All right, thank you, Last Robin. Appreciate the
No.
feedback.
Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna read the haiku in a Might Guy voice.
Oh, yes, please.
All right, for today's haiku. Toya, new one. Kurai has a lot of quirks. Outputs, maybe not.
Oh my god.
This has been Poetry with Might Guy. All right, Kakashi. You're up next time.
Oh no. Okay.
All right,
I'm just
Robin, thank you
crying
for
a
your
little bit.
review.
Okay, Silly Kita. Holy cow, this is long. Okay.
Do you need me to read the long one?
My throat is honestly hurting. Is yours?
I'm doing all right.
Okay, I'm gonna let you take this one. Sorry,
Okay.
Silly Kita. No
Silly
offense.
Kita. Dot. What? How did I not? What the frick flapjack just happened? Okay, I'm going to try and keep the hype I'm feeling in check, but starting note, I can't wait to see what happens next.
Oh, that's nice.
Hey, yay! Somebody liked the chapter! Hopefully. I'll also be spacing out the paragraphs so it's easier for you guys to read from now on.
Thank you.
Thank you. There was a lot of fighting, which I expected, but there was way more detail than I expected there to be. I can tell you've been watching Naruto/Boruto for some inspiration, which was cool to see in the setting of the My Hero world. The planetary devastation in particular was very clever, but I'll get around to that later in the review. Well, thank you. The team-ups threw me for a loop in some cases, though not in a way that didn't make sense. The only thing I personally would have changed would have been to swap Yaoyorozu with Jiro, since she is more suited for recon and support than open combat, as opposed to someone who can pop grenades out like it's nothing. Still, that's just me. I really did enjoy the fight sequences as they played out. Side note, it's going to take quite the effort to rebuild Nabu if the heroes were letting loose with attacks like Arctic Flash, Solaris Wave, and a tailed Beast Bomb before 9 threw his fit at the end with a Hurricane, which trashed the island in the original.
I feel
Poor
like
locals.
I was picturing this like facing the ocean because like in the movie wasn't 9 walking toward them?
Yeah, but the
from-
spit of land faces towards the mainland.
Oh.
Or not the mainland, but the main body of Nabu Island.
I don't know why in the movie I thought 9's back.
The fight
was to
kind
the
of
ocean.
the fight kind of shifts, like it goes around the island when Deku and Bakugo finally
Oh crap.
finally team up.
Okay.
Like he gets pushed adjacent to
Oh,
he gets
shoot.
knocked adjacent to the island.
Goodbye, Island.
No, not Goodbye Island, but it's gonna take some doing to fix it.
Man. Okay, sorry. Continue. Good
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, poor
Deku
locals.
Deku has practice cleaning beaches apparently. So.
Let's see. Okay, so first up, the Chimera battle. Like I've said before, I thought that Team Ruby was being set up to take on Switch. But while reading your story, I realized that their quirks and teamwork are better suited for taking on a bigger target than someone who can technically move faster than Ruby herself. Having them tag in for this fight was awesome, since my main complaint about their appearance in the story thus far has been in not getting to see them work together as a team ever since they showed up, without any help from the rest of Class 1A. I really, really liked how Ruby started to doubt herself and comparing herself to Izuku, who, if I'm remembering correctly, is one of her buddies in this story. You are remembering that correctly. Someone who many of the people in their class admire. Even better was how Yang and Weiss were the ones to snap her out of it, each in their own ways that felt uniquely them. I did not expect them to actually kill Chimera, and now I found myself wondering at the repercussions that this will undoubtedly factor in going forward. One of the things that I've been looking forward to in this story after deciding to bring in Team Ruby was setting them up against Chimera. Like, because I've been planning these chapters out for ages at this point, so to finally be able to, because like I wanted to build up like the Team Ruby moment to this. Because like I've been throwing in little bits and pieces, like they'll work together in pairs, or they're like 3 of them will be there and then 1 will be gone. But I on purpose did not put all 4 of them together for any event up until this one, because I wanted it to feel like a type of finale.
Yeah. Okay.
So I really enjoyed doing that.
Nice.
Let's see. Slice was also a cool fight to read, and I really like the incorporation of Red Riot, given that his quirk honestly seems like one of the best ones to use against her. Ida was a little iffy for me, but he did a good job in the end. I went and listened to the podcast after I finished reading this, and I agree the thought of Ingenium yeeting Kirishima as a human missile was actually hilarious. I wonder how Ida's going to take it when he finds out that Kurai died without him there. He's not going to take that well. I'm sure you could guess that, but yeah, that's not gonna go well. Now for Switch. I agree with your wife. It was an interesting / good approach to take in writing her fights only after you knew how you were going to defeat her. The fight was over quicker than I expected, but I can say the same of the other battles. I also understand not wanting to spend too much time on the side battles when you got the main fight happening in an already impressively long chapter. Thank you. As for the way her threat was ended, yikes. I almost feel as though the other girls should have tried to stop Acid Queen, or maybe they just knew better than to try and get between her and their enemy. Not that I blame her for doing what she did, it just seemed a little darker than what the others could have stomached. Yeah, I suppose I could have done something a little bit more on that, but that's what the rest of the story is for. I'm sure I could. I don't know. I don't know if she's going to be up to being lectured about how to deal with a villain when you know what's happening is about to happen. We'll get back to you on that one. Let's see. All right, now for the boss fight. Other than my nitpick about the placing of Creati and Earphone Jack, I love this battle entirely. The exchanges were easy to visualize. Sweet artwork of the Prominence Flash, by the way. And everyone's desperation was palpable. They also, at least in my opinion, it was also, at least in my opinion, much easier to feel the panic of Kodai's friends in this version than the original one. Than in the original, once I realized they weren't just fighting because they're the good guys and Nine is the bad guy. They were all trying to save their friend from the villain and himself. It gave a much more personal stake in the conflict for each of them, as opposed to Deku's singular bond with Katsuma being the highlight for his motivation. Okay, I mentioned something about earlier about like this. I didn't think to compare it to like what Deku's driving force was in the original movie.
Because I mean that's like the whole point of his personality. But
yeah.
I get it, and I think it goes back to the whole difference between anime movies and then just like regular canon material in the show. Not the, like I know that the movie is considered canon, but it doesn't fit into the narrative as well as it could. So because it's it's a one-off story.
Yeah.
So I definitely, I've said before that our friends will ask us if I've seen movies that are coming out, and I rarely watch movies anymore because I love the very epic storytelling that is done in TV shows and mostly in anime right now because that's what we've been into. And no, I think that's the whole reason, having something that's much that we've been building up to for so long has a lot more impact than when you're just watching an hour-and-a-half movie, So
Let's see. But yeah, it's a good point to bring up. Okay. The second that Ashido got hurt, I immediately thought, oh crap, this is how Kodai dies. There was no way he wasn't going to freak at that, and while I was proven correct on that end, I found myself very confused when he survived the overuse of his quirk. I was certain that Nine was going to use a Thunderbolt on him the second that he had an opening, and when that didn't happen, I found myself very bewildered. It wasn't until he showed up in place of Deku to rescue Katsuma and Mahuro that I started to get a sneaking suspicion what was about to happen. Excuse me. I was briefly distracted by the narrative of him and Uraraka creating a planetary devastation combo because that was honestly one of the coolest combos I've ever read.
I have to say, I love Uraraka being in...
Uraraka's awesome!
She's amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Are you kidding? If I can, at some point, I'm going to see if I can figure out... I'm going to see if I can help her figure out like how to do a planetary devastation like on her own. Because that would be really cool. I don't know if I'll be able to figure that out before the story's over, but I'm gonna try.
I'm trying to think. Her quirk negates gravity. It doesn't create gravity, so it would be really hard for her to actually attract objects toward each other.
Yeah.
It just takes gravity doesn't affect them, so I don't even know if that would be possible for her.
Maybe if she got like maybe if she got like some kind of gravity grenade kind of thing. Like she makes a bunch of stuff float and then she throws it at her target and it detonates and gravitational force like folds everything in.
A really intense magnet if she's using metal. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
we'd have to think that one through a little more.
Yeah. Like I'm spitballing here, but it is my goal in this story to see if I can get Uraraka to create a planetary devastation on her own, without breaking the rules of the story. Let's see. But I'm glad somebody else enjoyed that so much. Next up, we had Kai unlock the final chakra, and once again, I thought that would be the end of him. The wording even inclined itself toward the thought because you were right. It was pretty ironic to have him unseal his full potential just in time for him to perish. The second it became apparent that he wasn't going to die from that, though, I knew. I knew how the chapter was going to end. You love your cliffhangers way too much not to leave it on the note that you did.
Brat.
Yeah, I do. I also wholeheartedly approve of the implications of what the title of the next chapter implies. If I'm right, and they really lose One for All when Kurai dies, it will absolutely make this story a unique one because, well, how? How are they going to beat Shigaraki when the time comes if they don't have One for All? I'm sure you already know the answer to that, but I haven't got a single clue right now as to how they can go about that. Maybe Eri can rewind Deku back to when he had the quirk once she practices enough? I doubt that's right, but that's the only guess I can manage right now. It's not a bad guess, honestly. But I'll say no more on that.
Yeah, I gotta keep my mouth shut.
I know it's only going to be for a few minutes / pages, but I can't wait to see what Kai is able to do with One for All and Energon put together. This is going to be a plus ultra ending for the Guardian hero, I'm sure. Happy writing until the next one. Thank you for the review, sir.
Nice.
Thank you.
And is that the last?
No, it's not.
Wow, there's a couple more. All right, 2 more.
Last Robin added a footnote. How about that?
All right. Joe Clone. Wow. One more cliffhanger for the road, eh? Why don't we ever expect it? Have you met this guy?
I mean, if you weren't expecting it at this point, that's kind of on you. I'm just saying.
Holy cow, what a ride it's been this chapter. Raw, unadulterated fights back to back with all the emotions that come with them.
Yeah.
Team Ruby versus Chimera was just so satisfying because it's finally a chance to see the girls without having to hold back for the most part.
If I could go back in time and make sure that I had an extra art piece ready for that chapter, it would have been the 4 of them fighting Chimera. I just didn't have the time. And once you watch this next video, you'll understand why I didn't have time.
Yeah.
So many drawings. Oh my god.
He's been working on this for a while.
So many drawings.
All right. You've been really hitting the nostalgia button hard in this one with the callbacks to everything Kurai's done up until now. Ain't that the biggest death flag of all? Plus the Naruto references. When I said True Speech was like Green Lantern Ring, I did not expect a level that high. 9-tailed Kurama for the win. Hype level over 9,000.
It's over 9,000!
I know. Like, seriously, Joe Clone. I think Joe Clone's comparison to Green Lantern is the one that makes the most sense with the outputs.
And honestly, when I was thinking of True Speech, Green Lantern did not spring to mind.
See, but that's what I thought of.
Okay.
Because it's like, okay, he has this energy and he's putting it in this form. Like, that's Green Lantern all the way to me. Like, that makes sense. I agree with you, Joe Clone.
I definitely see, like, I can understand how you could come to that conclusion.
Retrospect, yeah.
But yeah, like, honestly, like, I didn't think of comparing Green Lantern to that until he mentioned it in a review.
Mm-hmm. All right. And on top of it all, you give him One for All in place of Bakugo. Now, in my mind, I was thinking that Deku would hand it to both boys and have a One for All trinity going. Huh, that's an interesting thought.
I don't think it works like that.
I don't think so. But I understand why you did it this way. Bakugo isn't as close, quote unquote, to Deku in this canon as he is in the main canon. From the moment they met, it seemed like Deku and Kai were going to be close friends. And now this is the ultimate culmination of their relationship. Deku trusts Kai more than Bakugo. Thematically speaking, it's a very powerful and poetic difference to the movie. Goes to show that there must have been a lot of thought behind the whole story from the start to here.
You guys know, you guys know I've been working on this thing painstakingly.
Well, I like that he respects that because I feel like a lot of people are like, you think you're just flying off the wing of your pants?
Nah, man. I meant this chapter and the one that's coming were some of the first things that I ever wrote for this story. Yeah. They've been heavily edited, but the progression of events has not changed. Like, different attacks were originally implemented. There may have been some difference in dialogue, but it was always going to end up this way.
So, Enika plus one for all equals basically all-star Superman. That story was about Superman's cells going supernova due to overexposure to the sun. And when he went to do everything he wanted to do before he would, quote unquote, pass away, for the lack of better word, I imagine Kai's cells are going to do a very similar thing with these quirks colliding with each other in his body.
I don't know anything about All-Star Superman other than what you've just told me. But
we may have to though, because our son's getting obsessed.
Yeah, might have to. Yeah. But Kudai's body is not gonna end up in a good state after this.
Oof, yeah. All right. Death next chapter.
Yeah.
This is definitely going to change the entire story forward, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
With the Public Safety Commission being bombarded with bad publicity, that would make the Paranormal Liberation Front potentially more dangerous and more effective in destroying hero society.
Mm-hmm.
When Kai dies, hope dies as well,
Mm-hmm.
at least in the public's view. I sure hope everyone will pick up the pieces and still survive with each other. Knowing you, though, and how you write, I'm not expecting a 100% recovery.
Oh man, they're learning.
You've basically almost doomed this world and made it your plaything by changing things this drastically. I'm all for this new Your Hero Academia world after this. See you next time, Ataris.
Yes, all right. At least a couple people like what I'm doing with this.
Thanks, Joe Clone.
Thank you.
All right, Robin's last review. Just kidding. Good to hear from you, buddy. All right. Oh, also, something I forgot. I don't like the blue fire Todoroki.
Oh, come on, man. We could have ended this on such a good note.
I don't think it makes the narrative sense, nor does it make sense in the world that his flames can go blue. And presumably hotter than Endeavor's at this point in the story, and in Shoto's personal character arc, especially with learning about later anime spoiler events.
Okay. You're wrong on the narrative sense. You're wrong. Endeavor has the ability to produce blue flames if he makes them hot enough. We first saw this when he fought a black Nomu and Hosu while hunting for Stain. He vaporized a Nomu's head, and when he did, the flames turned blue. If Todoroki has Energon juice coming from Kudai and jacking his powers all the way up to 20, he could absolutely create blue fire. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not something he can do on his own at this point, by any means.
Okay.
But I definitely believe that he will be able to do it eventually.
That being said, though, this was written before we were caught up on the show, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course, watching the show, you know, I'm gonna try not to do any spoilers, but I'm sure you guys have guessed that he and Dobby will go down will throw down at some point. If you haven't seen it yet, the traditional red orange flames versus the blue flames are super effective, right? Mm-hmm. And it's really and of course if you understand everything that goes into that battle, mm-hmm. yada yada, I agree with you that that's for effective, but at the same time he is having a little power up boost and his father is able to do it at this point. Yep. All right, cool, thank you. All right. Anywho, sorry again for have some dental floss. Your writing is always well done. Peace.
All right, thank you for the compliment at the end, but what would I need dental floss for when I don't have any teeth left?
Yeah.
Man, that was a lot of reviews. We're running at like 45 minutes on covering these things.
That has to be a new record for
hey, this is like the chapter that I've been building up to, so like I absolutely understand why.
Well, thank you for your sandwich compliments, Last Robin. That is nice teacher 101. Say something nice.
Thanks everybody
and then
for your reviews.
Them, and then say something nice. Yes, thank you everyone.
Thank you for taking us past 500 reviews, by the way, for this story. That is nuts.
All right, enjoy the chapter.
Yep.
Been pushed to the edge, seen the ones I love take the blunt of it all. I made a promise to always jump, no matter how hard the fall. My enemies bear the teeth. Tell me this will be the end. I will run, stand my ground. Reality is now mine to defend. Who I am and what I've done. My consequences come. Now I stand inside the storm.
The final holder. 9 glared at the clearing debris that he had been suddenly forced to repel with a shield, confusion mixing into his face with his anger as he used his quirk vision to see the 2 boys who had continued to fight on their knees, facing away from him. The one with the mechanical arm had exerted a blast of light made up of many colors that shattered both the spectral dragons in an instant, his strength seemingly restored. "What is this?" 9 growled as he focused his visual quirk more intently on the pair, though even that could not present an image to him that he understood. "That boy whose quirk I tried to take the other day. It's inside the other one now?" Bakugo, not having expected the sudden drop, nearly hit the dirt head first, but he managed to use a weak explosion at the last second to turn the fall into a reverse tumble that landed him on his hands and knees instead of flat on the ground. He then looked up to see that Kurai had been a little faster with Mina's fall, catching her up before she could collapse on the earth, making sure to lower her gently to the ground as to avoid hurting her any more than the battle already had. As he set her against a rock, he looked over his shoulder and wheezed, "Bakugo, watch over her. And the kids, will you?" "Watch over her?" the blonde growled as he forced himself to his feet. "What am I, a guard dog?" "Please," Kurai gasped, allowing his blonde peer to see the blood that was sheeting out of his nose and dripping steadily from his lips. "I need to know that she'll be safe." His eyes were distorted with several ruptured blood vessels, but his gaze contained more worry than pain, which, if Bakugo was being honest with himself, was more frightening than any cry of agony could ever be. "Watch over her yourself," he snarled as he tried to set aside the uneasy pit that was forming in his stomach. "It's time to finish this." Yeah. Kurai coughed, more scarlet spraying from his mouth as he did. "Yeah. It's time to finish all of this." Wiping at his face, he took in a deep breath before managing to gasp out, "You always wanted to be the best. And I need the best to protect what I love when I can't." A trace grin made its way onto his face as he all but whispered, "Only the best for her." In spite of his hard stance, Bakugo could not find it in himself to rebuke the other boy this time. He could see the wounds that it would have killed a lesser man a dozen times over by now, but what really compounded his fear that he had felt before was how at peace the other boy looked. He's not planning on coming back this time. He forced himself to admit as ice crawled down his spine. By now, the dust between them and their enemy was beginning to clear, and Bakugo knew he had to make a choice before 9 made another move. With a choked snarl, he lowered his hands and glared at Kurai before he growled out, "I don't know what you and Deku are planning, but whatever it is, make sure you kill this bastard Hogosha." "Can do," Kurai said as he leaned over his beloved's unconscious body. "I'm sorry, Mina," he thought as he kissed her forehead, leaving a bit of his blood behind as he slowly staggered to his feet and turned away. "I have so many regrets, but not one of them was a moment with you." "Can you still fight?" He gasped through his tears, the pressure on his innards continuing to build as Bakugo moved to carry Mina further away, out of the impending danger zone. The words were now directed to his green-haired friend, who was also struggling to even stand, though he had the benefit of working lungs to assist him. "I don't know for how long, but..." Izuku hesitated as they shuffled forward, trying to put some distance between them and their friends. "All Might was able to protect us with the embers of the quirk, even after passing it on to me." The two of them were now turned to face their enemy, their faces hidden by the shadows cast from the fires around them. 9, unable to hear their words but now able to see them without hindrance, sparked lightning in his hands as he shouted, "What did you do?"
With twofold, one for all.
Izuku and Kurai allowed the full extent of their powers to flow through their bodies, giving 9 pause as the air around them swelled with a foreboding presence. "We'll save everybody!" the 9th holder of One for All declared. Green lightning crawled across his body, giving him all might strength for what he knew would be the last time. Kurai could have sworn that his body was about to burst from the sheer force of the 2 quirks now dancing and intertwining within his broken and bleeding flesh. It felt like all the cells in his body were on fire as bioelectricity of many colors sparked across his damaged frame. His mechanical arm was trembling uncontrollably, and his hair was actually standing on end as he growled, "We will stand and triumph."
The earth beneath his feet shifted and groaned, as if threatening to buckle under an enormous weight, while the air trembled and crackled with the potential force that felt as though it could wreak untold havoc at any moment. In Kodai's eyes burned the fierce determination of someone ready to go down swinging, of a man who had nothing left to lose. Looking into those eyes, Nine couldn't help the little tremor of doubt that wormed its way into his head. There were red flags and alarm bells going off in the back of his mind, and for the first time since he had set out on his chosen path, he wondered if his dream might not become a reality after all. Such a thought infuriated him beyond all reason. "Why won't you weaklings die already?" he shouted as he commanded the hurricane above to condense its winds and lightning to converge upon the two nuisances obstructing his path. The storm was shaping up to be even more powerful than the last weather attack, but that also meant it was taking longer to charge, leaving Kodai a moment to ask what he needed to know.
"Why, me, Izuku?"
he gasped, struggling to force air into his lungs past the blood that had seeped into his organs as the storm began to tear the entirety of Nabu Island asunder. It was difficult to make himself heard above the raging winds and the lightning, but he just managed to remain audible to the other hero.
"You could have given it to Bakugo, or one of the girls. Anyone other than me would have made a better vessel."
When his friend didn't reply right away, he hacked up another globule of blood and wheezed.
"You'll be quirkless again. You know, I can't stand being the reason someone else lost their power. And we both know that I'm not going to make it out of this. So why?"
"You showed me that we don't have to be the men that we admire to become great heroes," Izuku answered without taking his eyes off their enemy. "I've always wanted to be All Might. Both Kacchan and I always strive to become him in our own ways. But even with his power, I was finally able to see that would never be possible. I am me, Deku, and I shouldn't be anyone else. You taught me that, Kodai. The truth is that the world doesn't need this power, not anymore. All for One won't ever hurt anyone again, so this quirk has fulfilled its purpose. And in its final hour, One for All should go to someone who realized what it would take to break the cycle. And that's you." His words sparked a memory in Kodai's head, one from not so long ago, yet nearly forgotten all the same. "It means that if you stand alone, you're going to end up just like All Might," he remembered saying to Izuku after learning about the secret of his power. "You'll end up just like Akururi. Both of them tried to do everything on their own, take everyone's burdens onto their shoulders. Look at where it got them." The irony of his actions up to that moment struck him as he realized that even though he had often criticized All Might's way of doing things, he himself had done much the same by continuing to fight, even when it was plain to see why he shouldn't. Like his teacher, he had decided to stare death in the eye and spit in its face, believing he could best it yet again. Now knowing that his gambit had failed and he was running out of time, he had finally come to accept that his power was not enough to save those he cared about. Now, he was ready to die, believing in his own words, and truly accept that his burdens could not be borne on his shoulders alone. Blood continued to drip out of his gritted teeth as he bared them in a ghastly imitation of a smile at Nine's tornado. As he clenched his left fist, he allowed One for All's surging strength to mix with the might of Energon and envelop his arm in a myriad of bright colors that burned away the exhaustion that had been etched into the limb. "He's right. It's time to end the cycle. Together." Izuku clenched his right fist as he and Kodai stood nearly shoulder to shoulder, the green light of his aura leaking out of the corresponding limb and merging with his friend's augmented strength. This was their final fight, their last stand as heroes. As the fact fully dawned on the both of them, they remembered their mentor's words from mere days prior, a lifetime ago. "You may only be on Nabu for a few weeks, but you should act with the thought in mind that these people will remember you after you've gone. At the end of your visit, what will they say about you?" All Might couldn't have known that he would be talking about the sudden end of their careers, but they took his words to heart now.
"At the end,"
Kodai drew his fist back and spat blood as he roared.
"I stood my ground!"
The ground broke apart and scattered beneath his feet as the energy coming from his arms swelled, lighting up the ruins of the mountainside like a miniature star amidst a volcanic storm. To say that his power had increased 100-fold would be an understatement. With Energon and One for All joined in his body, Kodai had become power personified.
"At the end?"
Izuku mirrored his friend's movements and drew back his right fist, powering his fading quirk back up to 100%.
"I saved everyone with a smile!"
he screamed. The power of One for All doubling back on itself in tandem with the might of Energon was creating its own wind pressure, forcing those nearby to duck down behind any shelter that they could find. Unseen by the two heroes, Bakugo peered around the corner of a boulder he had pulled his charges behind, barely able to keep his eyes properly fixed on the staggering sight of All Might's heirs making their final stand against this new All-for-One.
Forget it!
Nine growled as the hurricane funnel descended down upon them.
You'll never defeat me!
As one, Deku and Kai stepped forward, swinging their arms down and then skyward in an uppercut fashion as they bellowed.
Detroit Smash!
The raw energy and wind pressure created by their combined attacks soared into the eye of the storm above, instantly unraveling it and sparking chain lightning that tangled with Nine's power, halting it in place completely. The stones that made of the ground beneath them shattered into dust as they unleashed the strength of generations gone past. The boys' war cries turned into screams of agony as their bones were fractured and their skin tore apart from the force of the power leaving their bodies, but they held strong, keeping up the attack, determined to undo the shadows that Nine had cast on the island. The sky itself was rocked all the way up to the heavens as colossal courts fit for the gods of old were pitted against one another in a battle that made it seem as though Ragnarok was descending upon the earth. It was a struggle that lasted many long seconds, but inevitably, the power of One for All won out and dispelled the hurricane, the tornadoes pummeling the island and even the dark clouds above, allowing the sun to shine down and reveal the peaceful blue sky that Nine had tried to block out. All those that were outside the mountain shelter gazed up in wonder at the light of the eternal sun, and the heroes who cast aside such dark oppression. In spite of the agony radiating from his arm, Kodai ignored the crushing pressure in his chest that was making it nearly impossible to breathe, and lowered his arm before giving his friend a pained smile.
Look at that!
He wheezed with a wet chuckle.
We made the sun shine. Izuku?
Yeah, but this isn't over. The other boy grimaced, having now broken both of his arms so that they were an ugly purple color that matched Kodai's injured limb.
I know.
The 10th holder nodded as he turned back to Nine, who was looking down at them with something like horror.
It's funny.
What is?
I always thought that if I died a hero, it might be fighting beside a friend.
Kodai gasped as he settled into a lower stance, multicolored lightning stirring up the remnants of his clothing. When Izuku looked at him with confusion, he gave him a peaceful smile before saying,
I never thought that I would die alongside my brother.
Izuku was too stunned to speak for a moment, and when he did, he was barely able to get out.
Well, you're not dead yet. We have a job to do.
He turned to keep his eyes fixed on Nine once more, trying to hide the tears building up in them.
You're the team leader.
Kodai wheezed through another weak chuckle.
Waiting on you.
Izuku nodded and then was gone in a burst of electricity and wind, Kai hot on his heels as they charged at Nine. The villain raised his arms and screamed,
Get out of my way!
Lasers, lightning bolts, and dragon snakes flew out of his body by the dozens, each one packing more than enough force to kill the two boys. They split up at the speed of thought, with Deku moving in close, dodging everything that came his way, even at short range. Kai's skin shifted into a bright red tone, and the energy enveloping him became scarlet in color, keeping the man's attention focused on him as he skidded past dragons, slapped aside bolts of lightning, and overwhelmed the lasers with his own. I fear the death that is approaching, but I will not surrender to that terror. It hadn't even taken a second to summon the focus needed from the Muradhara power. It was as though One for All had broken down the gates to his chakra network and was keeping them wide open to select at his leisure. Not only that, he felt no trace of the exhaustion that using basic instinct usually inflicted on him. Nine howled his fury and concentrated every offensive quirk that he had in his arsenal at Kai after repelling Deku with an air blast, which the Guardian hero countered by invoking his endless resolve, nullifying the impact of every blast and dragon strike that his enemy could muster. I have stood tall against every trial that tried to bring me down, and I will stand against this one too. The instant he had endured the second wave of attacks, the yellow energy shifted into an orange shade that infused his eyes and hair. As he drove his fist into Nine's stomach at the speed of sound, a sonic boom cracking across the island right before he made contact. The villain went flying down the mountainside, even further away from Katsuma and his sister as he clutched at his abdomen in pain. The last of my days contained so much joy. I cannot ask for more than that. The recoil from the blow fractured some of the metal in Kai's right arm, but it held as he crashed into a crater that had come about as a result of one of Nine's earlier attacks on Class 1A. Meanwhile, Deku had come to a halt partway up the mountain, lightning blazing through and around him as he bunched up all the muscles in his legs and back in preparation for the shot he knew Kai would prepare for him. I've always been able to see the world so clearly for what it is, and yet I was privileged to learn more every day that I lived. Seeing what his friend was doing with a brief look from his divine eye, Kai planted his right arm on one of the walls surrounding him, the one standing between him and Nine, and let both of his powers surge into the damaged limb, sending the stump attached to the prosthetic into a state of greater agony, which he ignored in favor of accomplishing his task. A brilliant indigo light flared before him as he added his broken flesh arm to the strike that heralded a colossal Kamehameha, which blew apart the mountainside itself and streaked right toward Nine, who immediately conjured a massive shield to block the deadly energy wave that would surely vaporize him if it made contact. Once again, unused to the extra recoil impact from his augmented strength, Kai found himself flying backwards, this time higher into the air as the cells of his nervous system screamed and begged for him to stop. In other circumstances, he would have pulled out of the fight then, knowing that the damage being done to his body might be irreparable. But of course, this was no ordinary fight. It was his, and one for all's, final battle, and as long as he could draw in another blood-filled breath, he would keep pitting himself against his opponent. Meanwhile, Deku had chosen that moment to unleash all the potential energy that had been building up inside of him in one massive burst of movement, transforming the boy into a bolt of green lightning that streaked down the mountain toward his enemy. As he flew, he reached out and grabbed at his friend's outstretched arm, whose veins glowed green. Kai poured his energy into his friend's body with giving heart, compensating for Deku's flagging strength as they built up their momentum until they were nothing but a missile of shimmering lightning headed right for Nine, who conjured up even more shields to try and halt their progress. Though I have suffered great loss, I have always been loved enough by those around me so that those tragedies cannot weigh me down. Nine's shields almost protected him, up to the point where Kai used true speech to conjure a Nine-Tails cloak that reached around and shattered the barriers like glass with blows that struck with the force of a meteor shower. The second they were down, one of the tails that had been hanging back suddenly whipped forward, and Deku shot at a Mach 2 to deliver a blow that sent Nine flying out to sea, far away from any land where he might be able to try and regain some form of balance. The origin of my power did not make me a monster. It was my decision to serve the greater good that made me the person I am. Lightning and Energon surged throughout their opponent's body, obliterating any attempt at conscious thought, annihilating the chances he could muster up any kind of counterattack or defense. I am ready to die as a hero. Deku landed on the bluff overlooking the waters for less than a split second before he leaped after Nine. Even his violet energy suffused Kai's body, allowing him to take to the stormy skies in pursuit of their enemy. Together they flew at full speed, charging heedlessly after their enemy, covered in blood and hideous bruises, raining lightning behind them as they prepared for the final push. Deku drew back his left fist while Kai raised the opposite arm. This is it. Kai's body shone with purple fire while his metal arm glowed with lavender light like a star from the cracks in his brother's creation as he channeled the maximum potential of both quirks into the artificial limb. The last one. Deku could feel the sparks of One for All fading inside of him, but he willed them to blaze within the former vessel one final time. It's over now. They could see the terror on Nine's face as they rocketed toward him. There was nothing he could do, no quirk he had that could stop them. He had gambled everything he had against the resolve of these young heroes, and it was still not enough. He had lost.
This is
Kai croaked.
One for Alls.
Deku cried.
Final smash!
Their punches landed in sync, sending Nine straight into the ocean at the speed of a comet. Kudai's arm exploded with the power of a falling star that followed the enhanced villain into the waters, disintegrating both him and tons of water that went all the way down to the ocean floor, leaving no trace of the man that had endangered so many lives. The resulting shockwave ripped across the air, dispersing the last of the storm that Nine had created, and sent the pair of heroes hurtling back in the direction they had come from. Even so, the force was not enough to carry them all the way back to Nabu Island's temple grounds, which led the two boys falling toward the violently churning waters below, whereupon both of them closed their eyes, knowing that they had done their duty, and they could finally rest. So exhausted were they that they failed to hear a loud string of curses and explosions headed right for them. Kudai awoke with a gurgling sound, his vision dim and his hearing dull. He couldn't seem to get any air into his lungs, no matter how hard he tried to inhale. After a moment, he became aware of a sound on his right, that of someone yelling at him. Damn it, Sandman, don't close your eyes again, you hear me? Bakugo shouted. You won't wake up if you do. Kodai tried to open his mouth to speak, but all that came out were some dribbles of blood. He couldn't feel his right arm at all, and he knew that his brother's masterpiece had been destroyed by the combined quirks, which made him feel sad for some strange reason. After all, it wasn't as though he was going to be making use of it anymore. Stop trying to talk, you idiot! Bakugo screamed, and only now could I see the terror on the other boy's crimson eyes as he knelt beside him. What the hell were you thinking coming out to help us? You made yourself into a liability. The doctors told you not to fight, didn't they? We could have done this without you. Kodai, unable to say what he needed to say as his vision began to dim again, rolled his head to the side, hoping to find the friend that had given up his dream to save them all before the end came. He knew it was approaching. He could feel it in his limbs, the cold, the dread of what came next, even knowing what lay on the other side. I've been here before, he thought sluggishly, but this time, I need to leave something behind. For a moment, he lay still, wondering idly if Mina might be close by so that he could see her one last time, but his luck had apparently bottomed out. I'll never see her again. Not on this side, anyway. Hey, I said not to move, idiot! Bakugo raged as he partially entered Kodai's field of vision again, his face even more strained than before. Don't ignore me! You need to stay still until the evac squads arrive, you hear? Are you just going to leave Ashido all alone? Kodai knew the other boy was trying to invoke a reaction out of him, something to keep him from sinking further back into the dark. But he was beyond even that now. Nothing is going to stop my death now. Not this time. Craning his neck painfully, he managed to say one word, barely audible to his classmate. Deku. What do you want with him? Bakugo snarled. He's right next to you. Kodai could not see his friend, so he realized he must be on his left, the opposite direction in which he had rolled his head. He still had one last job to do before he could pass on in peace, so he tried to lift his head to turn around, but now it seemed that his body lacked the strength to accomplish the task. Stop moving! Bakugo ordered, but Kodai ignored him. There's only one thing I need to do. He tried to move his left hand to reach for the brother in arms that he could not see, but all he managed was a weak twitch of his fingers. Summoning some of the last remnants of his flagging strength, he gurgled, Help. Damn it, what are you doing? Bakugo asked him in a strangled voice. The fight is over, Hogosha. You won. Help. Kodai tried to move his hand again, but to no avail. The cold was creeping into his fingers, which refused to obey his will any longer. He heard Bakugo shuffle around before he had a vague awareness of his head being turned toward his friend, the boy who would someday become the #1 hero in all the world. Izuku was a mess of broken bones and bloodied skin, and his sleep looked fitful, but he was alive. He's going to be the greatest of us all. I won't let his dream die today. He tried to reach for Izuku again, but this time only his shoulder would wobble. Come on, Bakugo. Help me, please. His best friend was just out of his reach. Less than a foot of grassy terrain separated them, but to Kodai, he may as well have been trying to leap across the entirety of the Atlantic Ocean. He couldn't speak at all anymore. He had no hope of being able to communicate what he was trying to accomplish. He wasn't even sure what he wanted to do would have been possible under the best of circumstances. Maybe I'm just desperate in my death throes, but I can't let it end like this. As his vision continued to fade away, he prayed with all his might that Bakugo would understand what he needed, and that he would help him carry out his final task. Please. Just as he thought he would die with great regret, Kodai felt his broken hand being placed on Izuku's arm, causing him to open his eyes just a little bit again. Before he could do anything, Bakugo said in an uncharacteristically soft voice, I doubt you can give One for All back to him. If the quirk accepted you, what makes you think it'll go back to him? I know, Kodai thought as he watched his blood seep into his friend's skin. But All Might also told us that One for All can amplify the properties of a person's original power beyond the scope of their highest ambitions. If that's true... With the very last of his strength, Kodai focused once again on the Anahata chakra and summoned up every memory that he had of using his quirk, from the first little sparks of light that had made his father smile with pride and his mother laugh in delight, to the agonizing, exhilarating rush of power that had carried him through this last battle. Green light appeared in his mind's eye, flowing from his hand, and followed the trail of his blood into Izuku's body, turning into a richer emerald shade as soon as it entered his broken frame. As Kurai kept pouring every experience he could remember into this final act, he realized he could no longer hear anything at all, and that the light from his quirk was getting farther and farther away. One for all. Inaika. Give him the strength that he'll need. He was so cold. He wanted to shiver, but his body lacked the strength to do so. The only dwindling bit of warmth he could hang on to was the feeling of his quirk leaving him. So he focused on it, trying to hold on to that feeling for as long as he could, doing everything in his power to make sure that his final act was not in vain. The world may not need one for all anymore, he thought, even as the light and its warmth started to fizzle out. But it still needs Deku. The instant that he had finished the thought, the light faded away from his conscious self, so his body went limp and died. Hogosha? Bakugo asked in a trembling voice as he realized that Kurai wasn't moving and his eyes were no longer reacting to movement. Hey, stop screwing around. You hear me? This isn't funny. Hogosha! Hogosha! He put his head to the boy's chest and heard nothing, though he just told himself that was because the waves lapping at the sands beneath them. He gave up this thought when he looked into his classmates' eyes and saw that they were no longer even registering the light of the rising sun. Damn it, Hogosha, wake up! He screamed as he scooped Kurai's head and torso into his arms. Wake up! This isn't how it's supposed to end! His heart was racing and his eyes were stinging as he shouted, Deku and me were supposed to surpass you, remember? I'm supposed to beat the both of you and prove that I'm the #1 hero of all time. It can't end like this, not like this. Bakugo planted his head in the other boy's chest again, desperately hoping to hear something, anything other than the silence of the grave. When all he could hear was the continued crashing of the nearby waves, he threw his head back and screamed from the top of his lungs, Damn it all! Tears poured down his eyes, mixing with the blood splattered on his face as he sat Kurai down and started chest compressions on his unresponsive body. We never asked any of you to make this sacrifice, Hogosha. Not your brother, not your old man, not even you, but you. He gave out a long groan as he continued to pump, feeling some of the other boys' ribs crack as he sobbed. You never listened. Even more than me. You knew what it meant to go all the way, to be the best. His throat constricted and he could no longer speak as he kept trying with all of his might to get his friend's heart going again. Bakugo wasn't sure how long he was there, shoving on Kurai's body and forcing air into his lungs at irregular intervals. But eventually he heard someone's labored breathing coming closer, followed by a familiar voice asking, Young Bakugo, what is All Might? The battered teenager said as he sagged over the body, looking up at his teacher with tear-filled eyes. I let him go. Please, help. His arms were shaking, and his chest was heaving from the force of his desperate, fruitless efforts. The former #1 hero gazed at the body in front of Bakugo, and immediately paled to an unhealthy shade of white. His hand went to his mouth as he fell to his knees, utterly speechless as he saw what had become of his second protege. Young Hikari? Bakugo, seeing the look of horror and defeat on his teacher's face, was instantly forced to accept that he had failed, leading him to slumping down on his rear as he fixed his agonized gaze on Kurai's ashen face. The boy's body was practically shattered. His artificial limb had been blown to pieces, and his remaining arm was a hideous shade of purple, featuring rupture wounds that had split apart his muscles so badly that his bones were visible in some places. Blood was no longer flowing, but he was covered in more bruises and bloodied wounds than he had healthy skin. Almost more startling than that was his hair, which had turned completely silver, completing the image of an utterly drained vitality from the deceased young hero. Is that you, All Might? The two of them were startled by Izuku's subdued voice, focused as they were on what had become of Kurai. All Might shook himself and moved toward his heir with the words, I'm here, my boy. Don't try to move, you're in rough shape. Kurai, Ochako, Ashido, and Kachan, are they okay? Bakugo stiffened in place at Izuku's inquiry, but All Might held up a hand for silence. As usual, you're more worried about others than yourself, young Midoriya. The older man chuckled, though there was still pain in his eyes. You're in rough shape, so don't worry about them too much, okay? All Might, Izuku started to cry. One for all. I gave it to Kurai. Those words checked All Might like a physical blow, dropping his jaw as he struggled to comprehend the full impact of those few words. You what? He gasped. It was the only way we had to win, Izuku explained weakly as he shut his eyes. This villain was so strong. We had to double the power of One for All back on itself with Energon. I'm so sorry, All Might. Tears flowed from the eyes of the broken young hero as he waited for his mentor to condemn his actions. However, All Might did nothing of the sort. He placed a thin hand on his student's brow as he told him, "The power was yours to do with as you saw fit. You used it to save people who needed you, and you passed it on to someone worthy of that gift. Your unwavering resolve and fiery spirit will forever be a part of One for All, even if it no longer dwells within you." The man's thin shoulders were trembling as tears began to fall from his eyes. You are the greatest hero I have ever known, young Midoriya. And I'm glad that you found a worthy vessel to be the last holder of One for All. With Izuku's revelation, All Might was now able to understand what had reduced Kurai's body to such a sorry state. The combined power of All for One's masterpieces in his body must have been too much to handle, he thought as his eyes stung. Even if he suffered external wounds, his insides would have been all but annihilated by those quirks being put together. I can't even imagine how much pain he must have been in. The tears flowing from underneath Izuku's eyelids began to increase in number as he registered the words of his idol. Kurai, he said softly, is he... Everyone else is safe, Deku, Bakugo said without looking over, his voice betraying none of the anguish on his face. He's the only one that didn't make it. And One for All died with him. Izuku's words laid heavily upon the trio as they contemplated a world without the power that had saved so many people and kept unspeakable evils at bay. All Might. Bakugo's voice drew both their attention back to the other student, who was moving to close Kurai's eyes. Get a blanket for Hogosha. I'll look after Deku and him until you get back. Kirishima and some of the others were nursing their wounds with smiles on their faces as they congratulated each other on a job well done. It had taken everything they had and then some, but Class 1A had come out on top once again. Maybe the League of Villains will finally take the hint when they hear about how we stomped these guys. He chuckled as one of the medics that had arrived a little while ago finished applying bandages to his arms. They even had an All for One Junior on hand. That didn't stop Midoriya and Bakugo from fighting him head on. Kaminari grinned. He had recently recovered his intelligence after having taken on the brunt of Nine's lightning attack, and now he was staying close to his classmates, per the orders of the other pros they had come to investigate the situation. I thought they were crazy, but I guess everything turned out okay. There were recovery teams all across the island, and so far it appeared that everyone who had been sent to deal with the henchmen were all safe, if a little more than beat up. Even Ida, Tokoyami, and Kirishima, who had been the victims of a cave collapse, had managed to make it out okay, thanks in part to the rescue efforts from the number 2 hero, Hawks. Did any of you guys actually see what happened? Jiro asked as her legs were being bandaged by another one of the medics. I was knocked out not long after he hit you, Kaminari. I went down pretty hard too, so no, Ojiro said with a negative shake of his head. Ashido, Uraraka, and Hikari joined the fight, last I saw. Shoji told them, startling his friends. Yeah, it was crazy. I was knocked senseless for a bit, but in between moments of consciousness, I saw them fighting alongside Bakugo and Midoriya. Just before I totally blacked out, there was this crazy flash of light coming from Hikari and Midoriya, but I don't know what happened after that. Knowing Hikari, he probably unlocked another chakra in the nick of time, Kaminari snickered. Oh well, at least we won, right? All's well that ends well. For once, you and I agree, Jiro groaned as her head ached. Hey, speak of the devils, Kirishima said as he pointed toward a dip in the mountainside, where several figures could be seen coming from down the hill. Midoriya was on a stretcher being carried by EMTs, unconscious, looking though he's been thrown headfirst off the Himalayas. All Might was walking between the medics and Bakugo with a somber look. Bakugo himself had his eyes downcast, his expression unreadable, all while carrying something long, wrapped in a heavy blanket. It didn't take the other students long to realize that the explosive hero was carrying a body in a shroud, and it wiped all the smiles off their faces in an instant. Whoa, Sarah said with wide eyes. I guess the villain didn't leave them with any choices, huh? Ojiro said with a wince. Even so, it's crazy that both theirs and Rose's team had to do that. Word had already spread about the defeat of the Chimera villain, which had resulted in his beheading, but from what everyone could gather, he hadn't left the girls with much choice, given the situation they were all in. There were still some instances in the modern day where villains were killed by heroes, but most of the time it was the result of an accident, the villain simply refusing to give in until either they died of their own efforts, or the hero's hand was forced, which they guessed was the case here. The surviving villain who was the worst off was probably the teleporter, Switch. In order to prevent her from using her power to escape again, Mina had burned her eyes with acid, completely blinding her, probably for life. No one could say that the villain hadn't deserved it, but it was still surprising that the pink girl had been the one to do it, even if Kurai had been the victim of Switch's cunning during their first encounter. Can't say I'm surprised Bakugo was involved in this one, though, Jiro pointed out, causing the others to nod in agreement as their thoughts returned to the site at hand. Kirishima stood up and said, I'm going to make sure that he's okay. Be right back. With that, he started walking toward the group with All Might at its head. Once he had managed to come up alongside them, he waved a greeting with a smile that no one returned, not even All Might, who was almost always ready with an easy grin for his students. Tough fight, right, guys? Kirishima decided to ask when no one said anything. Is Midori going to be okay? He'll be fine once Recovery Girl has a chance to look at him. One of the medics answered. Sorry, kid, but we can't stop for visitors right now. All Might will leave you to explain the situation, but we need to get this one back to the main island right now. Of course, I understand, the former pro said in a subdued tone that was adding to Kirishima's growing unease. Turning to the redhead, he said, Let's let them take care of things, young Kirishima. Young Bakugo. We should put him near the boats so he can be moved as soon as we clear out. Bakugo didn't give an answer, but he moved to follow the direction that his teacher was taking, back down toward the water where several craft could be seen. His silence worried Kirishima even more, as the only time he'd ever seen him this quiet was when All Might had been forced to retire due to the injuries sustained by All for One. What happened with that villain? The sturdy hero thought worriedly as he looked back and forth between All Might and his friend. You okay, man? Kirishima asked Bakugo when he couldn't stand the silence any longer. Looking around them, he added, Where's Hikari at? I didn't see him earlier, so did he already leave with the other medics? He's gone, Bakugo answered in a barely audible tone. Well, yeah, I figured, Kirishima said with a slight frown. But did he already go back to the mainland or a triage on Nabu? I figured he'd come to fight even if they told him to stay off his feet. So where did they have to send him this time? Kirishima grinned at the thought of his friend acting on his conscience, physical impairments be damned. He's not going to a med bay, you idiot, Bakugo said, his voice ominously soft. He's just gone. Kirishima's smile slowly died away as he realized that the entire time they had been walking, Bakugo had yet to take his eyes off the shroud in his arms. Ice crept into his spine, and a rock harder than his skin slowly sank to the pit of his stomach as it began to dawn on him that there were tears leaking out of both his and All Might's eyes. His breath caught in his chest as he tried to ask for clarification, but his tongue refused to move, would not let him seek out the answer to the horrible reality that was being laid out before them. His wide eyes searched Bakugo's for any chance, the slimmest hope that this was all some kind of sick joke, and that the shroud didn't contain the body that he thought it did. The villain, he managed to get out. Where? The villain that attacked the island is gone, according to young Bakugo and Midoriya, and all his cohorts are restrained, awaiting a transport that will take them to a max security prison. All Might explained in a subdued tone. You don't have to worry about them anymore. Kirishima could no longer tear his eyes away from the blanket being carried by Bakugo, as his hopes continued to die inside of him. Bakugo? Is that? He just couldn't bring himself to finish the awful question. However, when Bakugo continued to refuse an answer, the redhead clenched his bruised fists as his temper flared while he started to shout, Come on, man, stop screwing around. Is that... What do you want me to say, Kirishima? Bakugo snarled, finally breaking his gaze from the body in his arms. You want me to tell you to go look for Hogasho over that hill that we just came from? Should I go run over to the other evac squads and wake up Ashido to tell her that he's going to be right over? Hogasho's gone and he's not coming back! With that, he quickened his pace, shouldering his way past All Might, who stopped and watched him go, while Kirishima looked on with a dropped jaw. All Might? The student asked slowly. He's wrong, right? Hikari's gonna be... I'm sorry, young Kirishima, All Might said without turning around. I know you were part of the raid where Night Eye died, so you already have some knowledge of this lesson. Even if it's too early for you to have to learn this firsthand, you know the reality is that heroes almost never get through their careers without losing someone close to them. But, Kirishima tried to protest, This is Hikari, All Might. The lead killed him before, and he still pulled through, right? He can't just... Young Kirishima! All Might's voice cut at the young hero like a whip, instantly silencing him. I'm sorry, but young Hikari is not coming back. He gave his life so that the rest of you might live. Don't dishonor his memory by trying to deny that fact, no matter how much it hurts. Kirishima fell to his knees as he watched Bakugo lay the body down by one of the boats, his arms and legs feeling as though they were lined with lead. But he's Kai, he said dumbly. He always stands his ground and gets back up no matter what life throws at him. All Might could only sink to the grass beside his student as they both began to cry in remembrance of the young hero that had paid the ultimate sacrifice in place of his friends. I never thought that I would live to see One for All pass from the world, All Might thought despondently. Master, what do I do now? From atop a hill, amid a field of flowers that afforded a clear view of Nabu Island, temple ruins, Tomura Shigaraki's clone smiled at the ocean in front of him. Well done, Nine, he said in a satisfied tone. Truly exceptional work. Done with his surveillance, he stepped into a foul-smelling portal, which took him back to the mainland of Japan. After making his report to Doctor, he found himself walking amid the bustling morning street among the citizens of the country, none of them having even the slightest idea of the bullet they were dodging. Without his hand mask, Shigaraki looked like just another average person in a superhuman world. Even with All Might gone, these idiots just go about their daily lives as if they haven't a care in the world. The copy of the Liberation Front's new leader thought with a sigh, his good mood starting to evaporate. How many times will it take for all these people to get it that the heroes can never win? Whatever the case was, his original would be more than happy to be the thing that went bump in the night to keep them all on their toes. The incident with Nine on Nabu would be an excellent blow to the heroes' already damaged reputations, especially now that a student had finally bit it. Now that one of All Might's disciples is out of the way, my original just has to get rid of the other fledgling symbol of peace. I'm sure he'd have liked to have killed Hikari himself, but I'm also sure he'll find out a way to make up for the missed opportunity. He was so wrapped up in his thoughts of how to further destabilize the public's faith in UA and heroes in general with the new forces at his disposal that he failed to pay attention to where he was walking, leading him to bump into another pedestrian. Watch it, kid, he grunted as the other person recoiled from him. It hadn't been any significant amount of damage that had been dealt to him, but as one of twice his copies, he had to be extra careful or else he could wind up as a puddle on the pavement. Sorry, the teenage girl said as she kept her eyes downcast while making to walk around him. Black hair mostly veiled her eyes, but Shigaraki's clone caught a glimpse of caramel gold orbs that locked onto his face for less than a second. But in that moment, he could have sworn that he saw a fierce flash of fear, followed by rage. She didn't stop in her walk, however. By the time he had turned to try and get another look at her, the girl had vanished amidst the mid-morning crowds. Even so, her brief glare had been burned into his memory, though for some reason it felt as though that was not the first time he had received that look. Who was that kid? He wondered as he kept glancing around for a few seconds. He might have guessed that she was a hero course student, given her age and the cape that he had caught a glimpse of, except that she hadn't called for any pro heroes to come and arrest him, nor did he recognize her from any of the profiles of the UA students. His gut told him they knew each other somehow, but he couldn't for the life of him figure out how that could be. He just couldn't shake the feeling that whoever that kid was, she could turn out to be trouble later on down the line. I'll have the others keep an eye out, he decided. Maybe this kid will be dumb enough to follow us and then we can get some answers. Whoever that girl was, he knew the look of someone with a grudge to settle, so he didn't doubt that even if he didn't run into her again, the new wielder of All for One could certainly have the chance to settle the score. You sure you made the right call? I could hardly take it back now, can't I? Kurai grinned wryly at the two men that stood between him and streets of gold. It'll be hard, but they'll be okay. Besides, I made sure that the future spot for number one is in capable hands. He looked down and wiggled the fingers of his right arm, enjoying the full sensation of his own flesh and blood being whole once more. The two men chuckled together at that. I suppose I taught you too well, said the one on the right. I wish this reunion hadn't come about for much longer, but it's still good to see you again, son. You too, Dad. Kurai nodded as he dropped the smile. To be honest, I wondered if I would see you here after learning everything about All for One. I'm glad that my suspicions were ill-founded. I'm just glad that your grandfather finally gets to meet you in person, his Uncle Shiro grumbled. He hasn't shut up about missing your arrival last time since you were taken back. I'm looking forward to meeting him again, too. Kurai laughed as they began to head into the shining city. I've heard a lot of stories from Dad over the years, but I'm wondering which ones weren't exaggerated. Oh, I'm sure he downplayed his part in our antics more than enough. Don't you start with that, Shiro. You were always the first one to get into Dad's stuff, and I had to bail you out. Kodai laughed as the two of them began to argue in good fun, much like how he and Akudori would have back in the day. It was strange seeing his father so carefree and full of life when all he had ever known of him growing up was a strict code of honor and shoulders heavy with the weight of the world. With his responsibilities left behind on Earth, and in the presence of the brother he had so dearly missed, it was as though Kodai was seeing how his father was meant to be all along. The two men looked behind them as Shiro said, "We nearly forgot, but welcome back, Kodai. You've most certainly earned your stay here." "Yes, welcome," Shigeru added a little hastily. "I've been watching over you, and I'm proud of the man that you've become. You did your family name more honor than I ever could have, and for that you have my thanks, son." The praise warmed Kodai's heart, and he smiled brightly as he replied, "Did my best. Now we just have to wait for Shuken and Akudori to screw it up somehow. Kodai!" The three men's laughter echoed throughout the city of the afterlife all the way to the hall of their ancestors, where there would be a massive feast and many stories told in honor of the latest addition to their residence, the final holder of One for All.
I hear the rain start to fall as it turns to a pour. We're here again in this storm, but we've been here before. I see the street signs warning, telling me that I have no other place I could go. Feel like I'm stuck in motion, can't find balance, I'm living in a vertigo. Everything is nothing like before. I've tried to hold it together, clinging on to memories I swore that I could hang on forever, but the end of the road wasn't far. I let go and I suddenly woke in my bed, rubbed the haze from my eyes. I've always hated goodbyes.
He's dead. You happy now?
Oh, man.
I killed him. He's actually dead.
We'll see. I'm curious to see everyone's reactions. I know there will be dancing in the streets. That being said, though, I don't know. For my part, I was sobbing. Not at first.
Like what got you?
What got me first was when Bakugo's voice started breaking when he was pleading with him.
Yeah.
And it started to get me teary-eyed, but then when Kirishima runs up to them and doesn't know.
And he's
That's
just been
what-
hanging out with everybody, and they're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and they're-
oh man, that was real tough, but that's a good thing we were able to pull through again.
Yeah, they were like, well, clearly we won, so it's all good, right?
Yep.
And oh, that just killed me. Oh my gosh. And I don't know. That one had me sobbing for sure. The first time. This last time I was just dead.
The ignorance in which he approaches the
But I mean, that's how it goes when you lose someone. Like it blindsides you.
Yeah.
Most of the time. I mean, some people have the privilege, and also it has pros and cons knowing that you're going.
Yeah.
Right. But it's usually when someone young passes, it's
very unexpected.
Yeah, and it hits you like a ton of bricks, and we got to kind of experience that with Kirishima, and oh my gosh,
yeah,
that one was hard.
Like All Might not like flipping out, but like having to get stern with him,
just being resigned.
He's like, look, I'm sorry, but this is how it is. I'm not gonna pretend otherwise. Yeah, that was a very difficult part to write.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I got rid of One for All. How do you like them apples?
I know a few of you are going to be very upset and up at arms.
Robin, what?
Yeah, Robin's not going to be happy here for a little bit.
I know.
I figure he'll hang in there.
I hope so. I hope so. Because
Even if he doesn't agree.
I have a plan, okay, guys? I know what I'm doing. I promise. I know it doesn't always seem like it, but I promise I know what I'm doing.
Believe me, I'm the one who knows that the most of all of you.
Wait, it doesn't look like I'm
It doesn't always look like you know what you're doing, but you get there in the end.
Okay. All right.
Oh, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I was
you
trying
hurt,
to make a
you didn't hurt my
joke.
feelings that it was funny. It was funny.
He's turned a little red at this point.
I honestly don't know how many hours I spent in putting into making the artwork that I did for this one chapter. It is a lot.
He's been doing it for a while. Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah. I think my favorite one, other than when Deku and Kurai team up, like when they first start using One for All together, I think the one that turned out best, in my opinion, is the Endless Resolve one, the yellow one. There's just something about the way he there's something about the way he like the left arm to me looks a little bit funny, but not so much that like it makes me dislike the photo. I really like how the lightning turned out and like the way that I was able to get him to stand and stuff.
Yeah.
I really like the way that one turned out.
No, yeah, I think that one was pretty cool. You're getting a lot better with your lighting too.
Thanks.
So.
Yeah, it like I'm sure most of you will have noticed this, but like if you pay attention, like as the fight's going on, like you can see that like the gray in his hair and like the other lighter part, like they keep spreading, so that by the time, if you're just reading it, like people who just read on fan fiction, when they get to the part where it's just like they find him and his hair's like gone completely white, like they're gonna be like, whoa, when did that happen? And, like it's not. I feel like I managed to write it in a way where it makes sense, but I liked being able to incorporate that visual aid into this. So that was really fun for me.
That's helpful.
It was also a really big pain in the butt to keep track of, like, okay, this part's turned silver at this point. He's got this stab wound here. I had to keep track of so many things while I was doing each drawing. Oh my goodness.
And I think this is actually the first time I've seen all of them put together, because I've seen like bits and pieces while you've been working them.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I
thought I showed them to you every time I finished them.
You showed them to me every time you finished them, but I've never actually seen all of them together next to each other.
Oh, okay.
And so even that one on the far left, I don't even remember that one.
You don't remember? That's his Barian mode.
You must have done that when I wasn't around, because I genuinely don't remember that one.
I don't know.
That one's
that
cool.
was what's that?
That's cool. I mean, you know me, I like purple.
Yeah. I also really liked the True Speech one.
Yeah.
Like that, I'm really happy with the way that I was able to get the cloak to turn out.
You little Nine Tails.
Yeah.
Cloak you. Over here with his Green Lantern power.
So the Rasengan in there actually turned out to be surprising. Like, it turned out easier than I thought it was going to. Like, I don't think it would do much sense to explain how I did it, like, without visual aids, but that was, like, the thing that I was dreading most, so I put it off to, like, the last thing that I did. And then when I actually got to it, I was done in, like, 5 minutes.
It's actually surprisingly easy to create glowing orbs if you know what you're doing.
It is, yeah. Like, but if you know what you're figuring out, like, getting there, that's the hard part.
Whenever I have a class that's being really grouchy, I like to show them how to draw lightsabers, and they kind of lose their minds because they're not motivated, but as long as they follow directions, they can do it.
Yeah.
And they're shocked always. So.
I think altogether I did 23 sketches for this.
Yeah.
No, 25 sketches, because some of them like have some of them start out one way and they shift to another. So I think it's 25 sketches altogether for this one chapter.
Yeah.
I've been working on this for months. Like, I want to say I've been working on this for like the better part of a year. Mm-hmm. Like, because I've been doing these, and I've also been working on other projects, but like, so the stuff for the chapter and then the stuff for the video that I just showed you guys, like, oh man.
Oh yeah, he's been cranking it out for ages.
Man, it's been really fun. It's also like some of the drawings may look a little inconsistent because like as I was going on and learning, I was learning how to do some things better. You know, I wasn't going to go back and, change stuff in the stuff that I had already completed.
You did redo a couple.
I redid a couple of things, but like not the entire drawing, or like I didn't go and change the cloak or the lightning.
Love digital art.
I mean, yeah. It's the undo button is my best friend on my tablet. But oh man, yeah. Yeah, oh man, I put so much work into this I put more work into this chapter than any other piece of literature that I've ever done. I don't know what that says about I don't know what that says about me, but
now we need to get this level of motivation toward your like actual book that you're starting to read.
I know.
Right. We have we started it back in what? June
or
July?
No, it was August.
It was August.
It was August.
But you have a chapter and a half. That's
I've got
pretty
2 chapters
good.
on it.
Oh, that's good that you have 2 chapters.
Yeah.
That's great. But yeah, let's get that level of motivation. Pump him up, guys. We need to get this rolling. Start his little side hustle going.
Oh man. Yeah. But all right, so to the actual chapter, one of the reasons I wanted to highlight the chakras that he was using specifically is because I kind of wanted him to reflect on what had brought him to this point. And what had allowed him to embrace each of those abilities.
Yeah.
Obviously I didn't want to go into a flashback of every time he unlocked a chakra, because I felt like that would just take away from what was currently happening. So I felt like little snippets here and there were the way to go for that.
Yeah. You had to keep it moving because a few people said it's a really long but short fight in a way, because everyone's either it's dragging or it was not descriptive enough or it was too descriptive. It was interesting reading everyone's reviews, because I think depending on how much you enjoy action, you are going to take it a different way. Yeah. So
I am really curious to see what people think of A, One for All being gone, B, now Deku has to start over with Energon. Mm-hmm. Because that ain't going to be easy.
Wait. Did we cover that he has Energon now? Or did
I mean,
we just
Deku doesn't know that at this point, but the readers will know. It's pretty obvious.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah. As he's dying, he's trying to remember
right,
he's putting his quirk into him.
Yeah, he's trying to.
So Deku doesn't know that he's got Energon at this point.
So if you're not reading the story, you're not sure if it worked or not, but probably did. So, yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. So Deku's gonna have to start over, essentially.
Ouch.
And
Poor Deku.
Poor Deku. Poor everybody, really.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna have an easy time of this.
I mean, we covered in the reviews, this really changes the outlook moving forward in the story. So
because One for All is gone.
Yeah. Okay.
One
this
for All
dog
is
stinks.
gone.
Sorry. I was holding the pug. Now she's too stinky. I can't
I'm
handle it.
also very curious as to who people will think. Wait. Do I not have that sketch here? Oh yeah. I'm also interested to see what people make of this person.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that little kind of ending
With Shigaraki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious to who they think she is.
Same. Yeah.
And again, I just got to keep my mouth shut because I can't spoil it.
Yeah. Because I remember you were really taken aback.
Yeah, I was like, what the heck? What are you talking about? What are you doing? What are you, weirdo? What is happening right now? You just destroyed my world and made me cry, and now there's a random new person. I don't care, but I do because I'm curious, right?
Yeah, because Shigaraki's where have I seen that? I don't think I've seen that person, but I feel like I've seen that person. What's going on? Yeah. Oh man. So it's. Oh man. I
haven't seen this drawing.
You haven't seen this drawing?
You have not shown me this drawing.
I thought I showed you this drawing.
You did not show me this drawing.
Yeah, that's the girl that Shigaraki passes by in the street.
Nice. You never showed me that one.
Yeah. So no, wait, this makes is this 26 drawings?
Jeez.
I did so many drawings for this.
Man, I wish I was that motivated.
Oh man. Yeah. Oh man. Man, I'm so excited. You guys know I've been super hyped for this movie. But I don't know if I'm honestly more excited for what comes next. Because, oh, man, it's going to be so cool.
Yeah. I've been anxious because I'm is viewership going to plummet? Is it going to increase? What's going to happen? Because I know there's a few holdouts who are going to wait until until he died and then read all of it. So we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, I'm curious, just as a onlooker here who knows most of the spoilers, because there's still some things he does keep from me because he's a brat. And there's I'm not
man, yeah. Oh man, yeah. Without spoilers, there's this one plot twist that I explained to her recently. She threw a Rubik's cube at me and wouldn't talk to me for like 2 hours.
And I was angry for like 2 weeks, which I think may be the longest time I've been salty with him.
Oh man, yeah.
And we've been together 11 years.
11 years this month. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Oh man. No, you've been more mad at me, like
For like real.
for like real
reasons.
stuff. Yeah,
Not
But
for that long. Not for 2 solid weeks though.
haven't you?
I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe I don't.
It's been
know.
too long. I don't remember. I'm old.
I don't know.
I'm not old. I know. I'm just.
Oh man,
Thanks.
yeah.
I'm tired.
No, you guys, like, I'm so excited for these next few chapters. For those of you, so like, not really a spoiler, but for those of you who have been hoping for more Akaruri screen time, I'm sorry that it came at this price. You guys might not be, but we will definitely be getting a lot more Akaruri screen time in the next few chapters.
Woo.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I will leave you with that promise.
Yeah, it is. Since the reviews were so long and there's just a lot to digest, I feel like that's pretty. I mean, I feel like that's all I really needs to be gone over at this
What
point.
did you think of the afterlife scene? Do you think I should have kept that, or should I have done without that?
It was cute. I mean,
Yeah.
it was special. I mean, when we know when Kakashi died but didn't die, we had that cute little moment with his dad,
yeah.
which was cool.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it reminded me of, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't necessarily need to be there, but it was cool.
Yeah. Like I liked the idea of like kind of giving him that final piece of closure. Because as far as he's concerned, he's left things in the right hands, and now he gets to reap his rewards, and he sees his dad, and he wasn't expecting to see his dad there, but he is there, and to him that's just wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, he gets
I hadn't thought of that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So for the maybe it wasn't necessary for the narrative, but I felt like it was a necessary catharsis for the character.
Okay. I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
I can get behind that.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for sticking with us throughout Kurai's entire hero career. And we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks so you can find out what happens next. In the meantime, unlike Mina, have a happy Valentine's Day.
Wow. That was evil. I totally forgot that this chapter was coming out this week. I remember it like months ago. You were like, hey, I just realized he's going to die.
Like right
week
before
of
Valentine's
Day.
It wasn't planned. These are the kinds of things that I couldn't plan if I tried.
It's okay. They're going to be partying, so it's fine. They're not actually sad, apparently.
Apparently, they're all psychopaths.
Maybe somebody's sad with me.
I mean, I think...
I'm not sad anymore.
I think Joe Clone... I mean, you've had a while to get used to the idea.
Yes.
I think Joe Clone and Silly Kira might be sad about it.
I was very upset for quite a while. But
Oh, man. Well...
Continue. Sorry.
No problem. I was just going to wrap up, and I hope everybody has a good next couple of weeks and a very plus ultra Valentine's Day.
And make it fun. It doesn't have to be all about all the mushy gushy stuff.
Yeah.
Go eat some chocolate. Get some discount chocolate the day after.
Yeah, man. You get so much discount chocolate.
Bro, it's the best.
Life hacks.
All right.
All right. Take care, guys. See you for the next one.
I hate to see you go. Without you, I just don't know. When the day comes when I fall, you won't be there to catch me, no. I try, but I can't seem to. Nobody could replace you. At a loss for words as the memories flood my mind. Took the only chance to bring me back again. Like family, so much more than a friend. Miss you 3,000. Miss you 3,000.